A prominent figure of Generation Z and beyond, Kendall Jenner graces the cover of the August 2024 issue of Vogue France. This was not only an opportunity to interview her, we were also able to discuss topics that are important to her, starting with mental health, a growing concern in today's society. Taking care of my body and mind has been a priority since childhood, she tells us. It's hard not to believe her. Having grown up in front of the cameras, she is above all a true athlete, as evidenced by her horseback appearance alongside Gigi Hadid at Vogue World, Paris. A lesser-known but equally true fact. Kendall Jenner is an avid reader, as one might infer from her Instagram account, where vacation photos occasionally feature covers of thrilling novels or intriguing essays. What better excuse to delve into this lesser-known passion of the model? Cold, reserved, and concealed behind her enormous sunglasses. These are often the first traits that come to mind when thinking of Joan Didion, the renowned American writer known for major works such as the remarkable play It As It Lays. Her writing mirrors her persona, both distant and incisive, cold and surgical. Throughout her life, until her death in December 2021, Didion was viewed by her peers as an opaque and elusive figure. For her part, Kendall Jenner chose to immerse herself in The Year of Magical Thinking, one of Didion's most famous works. The book recounts Didion's experience of mourning her husband, writer John Gregory Dunn, who died of a heart attack at the dawn of the 2000s. It's a moving book about love, cohabitation, death, and what it takes with it. People who have recently lost someone have a certain look, recognizable maybe only to those who have seen that look on their own faces. I have noticed it on my face, and I notice it now on others. The look is one of extreme vulnerability, nakedness, openness. A writer with global resonance, Fernando Pessoa achieved fame only after his death, when thousands of pages written during his lifetime were discovered at the bottom of a trunk. The Portuguese author, who died at the age of 47, had published only a few poems while he was alive. In 1935, he was still an unknown figure. However, soon after his death, fragments of his work began to circulate globally. Among them, the most famous is the Book of Disquiet, a sort of autobiography straddling the line between essay and poetry. It is of rare originality and surprises anyone who ventures into its pages. Life is also about learning to identify the triggers that can plunge us into unwanted states, or sometimes learning to manage them better when they're unavoidable. For me, it's about regulating my emotions and understanding how my brain and body function, explains Kendall Jenner in the pages of Vogue France. This helps explain her fondness for Fernando Pessoa's work. The writer delves into this very sense of unease that marks his existence, seeking to better control it. In 2011, director Miranda July shared her excitement for each new encounter that punctuated her life in an interview with The Guardian. Director is a limiting term for someone who is also a writer, performer, filmmaker, and actress. We'll use director here because her film Cajillionaire, released in French theaters in 2020, remains a treasured memory of madness and tenderness, delicately embodied by even Rachel Wood and Gina Rodriguez. In No One Belongs Here More Than You, Miranda July explores the short story format to delve into her sensitivity, striking a delicate balance between the ordinary and the extraordinary. Through its pages, readers encounter a middle-aged woman obsessed with Prince William and an aging bachelor who has never fallen in love. During a lecture at the John Adams Institute for American Culture in the Netherlands, located in Amsterdam, she mentioned that she has always been interested in the idea of telling stories. This sentiment echoes with Kendall Jenner's reflections in our pages. I write about everything: my feelings, my emotions, my desires, my rough patches. I also write down memories of moments or events that I want to remember. I really love poetry, Kendall Jenner tells us. This might be an understatement given the numerous poetry collections visible in the photos on her Instagram account. One collection catches our attention, featured in a story post. Sea of Strangers by Lang Leave. Leave, both a novelist and poet, was born in a refugee camp while her family was fleeing the Khmer Rouge regime. She spent her childhood in the migrant-heavy neighborhood of Cabramatta in Sydney. In Sea of Strangers, Lang Leave continues the style of writing that first brought her to prominence with collections of poems such as Love and Misadventure, Lullabies, and The Universe of Us. She embraces a free-form style, presenting sporadic poems that don't adhere to any specific tradition, but instead draw from a broad range of inspirations. Lee focuses on portraying her most mundane daily experiences, viewed as the foundation of her poetry. At the beginning of this article, we mentioned how mental health is one of Kendall Jenner's primary concerns. Her affection for So Sad Today by Melissa Broder is not surprising. In this collection of essays, most of which are very short, Broder presents a writing style that is sometimes abstract, sometimes raw, but always strikingly authentic. This style is derived from her eponymous X account, created in 2012, where posts oscillated between dark humor and total despair. And for good reason. Melissa Broder has struggled with depression and anxiety throughout her life. from obsessive thoughts about death from the age of 12 and leading to severe panic attacks in the early 2010s while she was working as an editor in New York. Tweeting became her outlet until the account went viral, followed by celebrities like Miley Cyrus and Katy Perry. For me, writing is a healthy form of escape, a way to synthesize everything I feel. And I think tweeting is a way for me to chemically alter myself, getting that dose of dopamine, she shared in an interview with The Guardian upon the book's release. The House Guest is the second collection of short stories in this selection. Here, Mexican author Amparo Davila conjures a series of horrifying nightmares, where monsters creep into the real world, leaving a terrifying impression. Sometimes, these monsters take on human form, as in The Funeral, the final story in the collection where a man nearing death reflects on his life, filled with doubts and missteps. Amparo Davila's stories have been compared to the works of Franz Kafka, Edgar Allan Poe, and even Leonora Carrington, for their macabre atmosphere and electric tension. Whether exploring the boundaries of desire, paranoia, insomnia, or fear, Amparo Davila tortures her characters with familiar tools, from solitude to profound distress. As these human afflictions take the form of fantastic and deadly creatures, one cannot help but think of magical realism, which once represented the pride of Latin American literature, masterfully wielded by authors such as Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Julio Cortázar, and Jorge Luis Borges. An exploration of all the ghosts that haunt me, which I perform in an act of healing. This is how Farah Rosen presents How to Cure a Ghost, her first poetry collection, which allows her to address themes such as shame, ancestral trauma, and violence through intimate and personal experiences. Her ghosts are many: white supremacy, the abuse she suffered from her mother, patriarchy, Islamophobia. These are almost as numerous as the topics covered in the book dedicated to survivors, envisioned as a journey from the deepest disgust with oneself to acceptance and forgiveness. Drawing from the legacy of Rupi Kaur's poetry, Farah Rosen, as a Bangladeshi Muslim and queer woman, uses her writing to explore the intersectionality that shapes her identity with a focus on marginalized experiences. In another work, the essay Who is Wellness For?, which is almost as personal as her poetry, Rosen examines the wellness culture and, more importantly, the individuals it serves and those it neglects. She provides resources to help everyone take care of themselves, regardless of race, identity, income level, or physical condition. Between essay, narrative, and poetry, Maggie Nelson doesn't choose. With Blutes, she presents a moving text composed of around 240 poetic fragments centered on the color blue. It's an opportunity to reference thinkers like Plato or Goethe, including his theory of colors, artists like Andy Warhol or Yves Klein, and even the music of Joni Mitchell or Leonard Cohen, navigating themes of mourning, love, and melancholy. Starting with a declaration of love for the color blue, Maggie Nelson's text gradually reveals itself to be richer and more complex than its opening words might suggest. Now considered one of the pillars of nonfiction, Nelson creates a work here that perhaps defines her even more than any of her other books. From blues music to pornographic films, she confronts the color blue in a battle that is both intimate and grand. A gem.